It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit Online magazine for 2020, 2021, and now in 2022. My goodness, I'm running out of room in this house with all these awards. I don't know. I might have to get a contractor to sort of widen my living room. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate conservative here on your newsfeed every Monday night. Yes, it's me, Dr. Fernando Uribe. Hoping you all have a wonderful weekend, a little toasty weather here in Northeast Jersey, overlooking Manhattan. Hopefully you're all staying cool, staying hydrated, looking after elderly neighbors, elderly family members. Certainly, folks, as we close out the month of June, we have 4th of July next Monday, and I'm really excited. It's arguably my favorite holiday of the year as we celebrate yet another birthday for the greatest country on this planet, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it's 246 years of our constitutional republic here in the United States. I'm looking forward to celebrating with some people next Monday night during the 4th of July, where again, we can go out and see fireworks and just get back to normal, because it's been a tough 2 years for a lot of us, not just in New Jersey, but also within the entire country and obviously all throughout the world. So, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so on Facebook Live via StreamYard and also on the Jersey First TV YouTube page. Make sure you share it on your social media. Sharing is caring, folks. Share the YouTube page right now. For you Facebook users, take a minute, just share it, and it goes live on your newsfeed as well. Always check out Jersey First TV at their website, www.jerseyfirst.org. That's Jersey, the number one, ST.org. That's Jersey1ST.org. Make sure you like them on Facebook and follow them on both Instagram and Twitter. Check out my own Instagram and Twitter, folks. It's the same handle, @NoFilterUribe. That's @NoFilterUribe. And make sure you like Real Talk on Facebook as well. Folks, just as a reminder, let me have a little tea once again, because guess who still has the best record in Major League Baseball? Yes, folks, the team that runs New York. Yes, my New York Yankees. Let me have a little tea. That tea tastes so good as the Yankees keep rolling. Obviously, a great comeback win yesterday. Their 10th comeback win, which leads Major League Baseball. I'm hoping that stretches well into the dog days of summer and well into October. Again, folks, a lot to talk about here. Stay tuned, because at the end of the show, I will announce this week's winner of the worst journalist in the state of New Jersey. As a matter of fact, I have a dishonorable mention first, and then I'll have this week's winner. You'll be obviously not surprised, as I'll be discussing Insider NJ, which seems to be sort of the king of bad journalism in New Jersey. And we'll also be talking about NJ Spotlight News, so you definitely want to stick around for that. But first, folks, the reason this show continues to do well every single week online, not just with dozens of views, with hundreds of views, but with thousands of views, is because, first of all, of you, my loyal viewing audience, which I'm thankful for. But secondly, it's my incredible guests, which I have every single week. And this week is no exception. He is the executive director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce. He is Gus Penaranda, here joining us on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Gus, ¿cómo está?
Muy bien, muy bien. Thank you for having me, Fernando.
All right, good stuff. Folks, again, if you have not had a chance to check out the NJ Pride Chamber of Commerce, please go to the website, www.njpridechamber.org. And do me a favor, folks, because I don't want anyone to ever accuse me that I'm not supportive of all of my guests, but there is a donate button on the website. So you know what? It's late June. It's already July 1st coming up later this week. You have to get summer ready, folks. So during the mornings, when you're having your iced coffee with all that sugar and your breakfast sandwich, which is just going to make you a little bit chunkier, do me a favor. Get summer ready. Get that body ready for the beach. Do me a favor. Instead of getting that iced coffee or your triple macchiato, super duper mega cappuccino, and whatever breakfast sandwich you're getting, forget all that. Scratch it. Take that money. Save it up. Remember, at the end of the month, and go again at the njpridechamber.org. Click on the donate button. Donate it there. It's going towards a very good cause. Your donation online is safe, secure, and tax deductible. Gus, you can't say I'm not looking out for my guests. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, thank you. As a latte with skim milk and 4 Splenda guy, I'm gonna make sure I do the same. So
Okay, yeah. Again, I just want people to be summer ready.
yeah.
I only have one ab. I'm trying to get the other five. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm trying to get summer ready too. But for everyone at home, skip that iced coffee. It's so much sugar. Okay, and avoid all those breakfast sandwiches. You know what I'm saying? Get summer ready, but take that money and donate it on the link there on the website. Now, Gus, when we talk about the mission of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, again, and we'll sort of talk about its transformation in recent years in a moment. But again, for our audience at home, the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce advances the business interests of LGBTQ plus and allied professionals in the tri-state area. They promote the economic growth and development of our members by providing LGBT business enterprise certifications, networking opportunities, and a range of other business and professional development resources. That's a lot to unpackage there. Gus, break it down for us, and let's make it as simple as possible.
Well, right now, if you compare an LGBT startup business with a non-LGBT startup business, statistics show that the LGBT businesses will last anywhere between 3 to 4 years longer, because a lot of new businesses go, close their doors. The second thing is that the LGBT community likes to support LGBT businesses because they feel that is a safe space, that they're not going to be singled out, or they're not going to be not so much harassed, but they're going to feel comfortable in entering, their storefront or their business or their office. And in 2022, it's difficult to have to talk about the fact that when you're talking about LGBTQ plus businesses or LGBTQ plus sports or anything LGBTQ, the first thing that comes to mind is a safe space. So the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce does what most chambers do as well. We support businesses that are LGBTQ owned. We help them find financing. We help them network. We actually help them market. We do we provide them with a lot of free advertising through our online magazine, through our events, through our website, through our social media. And in essence, what we're trying to do is make sure that they have all the resources they need and they have everything in line to take advantage of opportunities that may come up or they were not aware of in the time that they've been doing business in New Jersey.
Now, from your experience, and again, a shout out to Joe Renga, who I know I've interviewed before. He was the past president of the chamber. There was a little bit of a transformation, right? Sort of a rebranding about the organization. Take us through what contributed to that. Was it a focus group? Was it a collective consensus by the executive board? Did you hear from businesses as well that said, hey, maybe Gus, also to Joe, right, the past president, that maybe we need to sort of do a rebranding here. Maybe, again, it's unfortunate, right? Like just the term LGBT might be a little polarizing for some. And when it comes to doing business, it's unfortunate, but some might sort of shy away from that. Was that part of the rebranding process? Or take us through again with what went through with changing from what I remember when I interviewed Joe Renga some time ago. It used to be the New Jersey LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and now it's the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce. Take us a little bit through the chronology of time.
Correct. So the acronym is LGBT, and we're supposed to be inclusive of the entire community, but that has changed, and it became LGBTQ, then it became LGBTQIA, then it became LGBTQIA plus. So first of all, thinking of it as a business perspective, it would cost a lot of money to keep rebranding every single year. So Joe, the past president, and the past board, and Stephen Blizjuski, who is now the new president, led the search to find an organization, which they did, that was going to survey some of the members, get some feedback as to what they felt, the branding, the title of the organization, the look. What did you think of it? Was it welcoming? Was it appealing? Did it encompass the entire community? And this was only part of it, but it was a key focus because of what I just mentioned. I mean, at some point in time, there has to be a better way to encompass the entire community. And what came out of it was, instead of calling ourselves the New Jersey LGBT Chamber of Commerce, the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, with a welcoming look, design, style, and even color, won out at the end. And we implemented that on January 1st of this year, but it took 7 months, pretty much almost all of 2021 to survey, implement the data, create the new look, design it, and get it approved. And now we have what you see now at njpridechamber.org.
Folks, it's 6:10 here on the East Coast. If you just joined us live on StreamYard and also on the Jersey First TV YouTube page, my guest this week is the Executive Director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, Gus Penaranda, here on Real Talk. Gus, one of the things that caught my eye, again, not just as a journalist, but also as an academic, I love to do my research. So whenever I have a guest, I like to make sure I'm prepared. But I noticed something here in terms of, obviously on the tabs on the website, as it refers to what we do. I noticed something about certification. So maybe for our audience who are not aware about this, because, when we think about the Chamber of Commerce, like I'm a member of the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. A shout out once again to Carlos Medina, a good friend of the show, a guy who's been on the show. I really adore him. I've been on his Get Bassa program on NJPBS. Certainly, really enjoy talking to him. I'm not a fan of his brother or his sister-in-law, but I mean, that's another story for another day. But Carlos and also Luis de la Hoz,
yes.
Colombian, they do an amazing job with the chamber statewide. When you look at the success of what they're doing, obviously, I would argue that it's just an incredible model of consistency about what that Chamber of Commerce does. Because we're talking about tens of thousands of Hispanic-owned businesses in New Jersey that gravitate towards that organization, which is so well run, again, not just with Carlos and Luis, but the entire executive board. Is that something that you allow? And we'll talk about the executive board here in a minute because I have you all listed here. But is that something that collectively, that's what you'd like to see the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce get to, where we're talking about massive galas, we're talking about fundraising, we're talking about multiple events a year. It's time consuming, it's costly, but it certainly seems like a direction from what I'm seeing that you're headed in.
So one of the benefits of being friends with Carlos for almost 20 years is the fact that I was there when he became the head of the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Danielle Hara, had stepped away, and then Carlos took in, and, he didn't inherit, and he'll tell you this if you ever talk to him face to face, is he didn't inherit what you see now with the statewide Hispanic Chamber.
Yeah, that's right.
And I have been with him. I have seen what he's done. He's had, successes, he's had failures, but he kept moving forward. And now, yes, now you see the packed galas. Now you see the recognition by the top leadership and, all the wonderful things that he's doing with his entrepreneurship program and capital funding for new businesses. But that took years. It took hard work. It took good people that were sitting on his board, that were working with him as well. And, I was lucky because now, as the executive director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. In fact, all I have to do is literally try to see where the components in the statewide Hispanic Chamber and the African American Chamber and some of the other chambers fit into the strategic plan for the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce. And the wonderful thing is that we're already working together. We have already supported each other with our Google webinars. We've already supported each other through our events. So it's a great model. You are correct to follow. And, he is very supportive, as Luis, of what we do. And I think we are going to be able to provide similar services, if not, share services for the LGBT business community in New Jersey.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, shout out to Carlos Medina and Luis de la Hoz for the great job that they do. Getting back to the New Jersey Pride Chamber, Gus, again, something with the certification that really caught my eye here. We promote the certification of LGBTQ plus owned businesses into, quote, LGBT business enterprises. Certification is vital in providing more equitable access to the procurement streams of corporations, state and public agencies, and educational institutions. That seems like a mouthful. Let's sort of shave that down a little bit as to why that is so crucial.
Right. So one of the things is when you open up a business in New Jersey and you are a woman or a minority, the certification has been there for some time. And that helps in the fact that it gives corporations that are looking for services or products, access to, okay, I want to diversify, this project, and I want to find out where are the minority-owned construction companies, where are the women-owned construction companies, and so forth. And that helps them because they have always, they've always had difficulty in lending, in getting businesses started, access to different resources. So now the LGBTQ business community is no different. As of May 3rd, with the governor now recognizing LGBTQ-owned businesses in the state of New Jersey, now they can get certified by the state, and they'll also participate in a lot of these private corporations and state and federal projects in which they allocate percentages of different programs and contracts to such groups. Now, prior to May 3rd, there was no recognition of LGBT owned businesses in New Jersey. So the certification was done through a third party, which was the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce in DC. So members would not be charged once they became members, but they would become part of, they would get certified through the National Chamber. And that would give them access to a lot of the resources that the national office has, which basically involves a few hundred of the top 1,000 businesses in the country, plus a lot of data and networking that normally you wouldn't get if you were just, opening up a business in New Jersey and not doing any marketing, not doing any networking or trying to find data that can help you sell your service or your product. So certification was key in trying to expand your business, trying to bring more employees, and especially in trying to access different outlets for capital, because you need capital to expand.
When we talk about, and I'm glad you brought the word capital, when we talk about capital, I mean, obviously we are, we're recovering from COVID. I mean, these last 2 years have been extremely difficult for everybody, regardless of race, gender, orientation, whatever. It has been grueling, not just in New Jersey, but around the country, around the world. And especially when it comes to businesses. And, I've got in trouble a little bit, Gus, for saying this, but here in New Jersey, obviously, and New York and Connecticut, I mean, my opinion, they certainly did not flourish the way, again, the great freedom-loving states of Texas and Florida did with their economies and everything else. And we saw what happened in New Jersey. A lot of businesses were stifled during COVID. I think that the governor's approach, I think we're going to be learning, again, in my opinion, wasn't as good as other governors. And I think that really hurt businesses all across the board. And, for minority-owned businesses, whether it's Hispanics, LGBT, women, I mean, it was sort of those practices that really, really almost suffocated businesses. What's been your, I guess, the feedback you've gotten from LGBTQ business owners about recovering after COVID? Because a lot of businesses did go under here in New Jersey. Again, what I would argue was bad governance in Trenton. But I don't want to get too political on that point, but from your experience, did you hear what the feedback was from business owners as, again, we were trying to get back to normal from COVID?
Well, the first thing I want to make clear is the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce is not a political organization. Our focus is business, strictly business. But what you're asking is about business. And yes, for some states, the pandemic lasted a lot longer than other states. And the unfortunate negative effect was a lot of businesses did not survive. We still don't know what the full effect of the pandemic was, even in Texas or in New Jersey, Connecticut, or New York. We don't. But all I can say is, as far as New Jersey is concerned, yes, there are some businesses that went under because the services were services that just couldn't survive, when everything is closed. But a good percentage of New Jersey businesses did survive. Now, whether they're still making the revenue that they did, pre-pandemic, we don't know yet. We haven't seen any of the financial studies or reports come out. But I will tell you this: there was access to capital. The thing is that a lot of people did not know where to go. And one of the things that I have been told by some business owners is I didn't know where to go, or they didn't understand what they were asking with regards to emergency loans, with regards to deferment of taxes being collected and so forth. So that was basically one of the key issues, because remember, New Jersey is very diverse, including its business community. So English is not the primary language. So if you have everything in English, that's great if you speak English and you're trying to look for emergency loans or whatever grants were available during the pandemic. But if your, first language is Spanish or Arabic or, or Chinese or some other, other than English, where are you going to go to get resources? You're going to depend on your neighbor, next to you on Main Street or First Street, where you have your business, to see if they know where to get access to money. So that was one of the issues that was brought to me by some business owners. The other one is they don't know, that organizations like the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce exist. I mean, I see that as one of the top three. It's like, I didn't know there was a chamber. That doesn't just apply to us. That applies to the other 100+ chambers in the state of New Jersey. The only reason that the Hispanic community knows about the statewide Hispanic Chamber is because they go out of their way. They bust their butts to try to make sure that they get the information out. And that's what we're trying to do, because I can't tell the future. I don't know if there's going to be another pandemic. But I will tell you this. Nowadays, when you're doing contracts with hotels or anything that's scheduled for a future, even rental halls or whatever, there's a COVID clause, and businesses need to understand what that means. Why? Because we just saw what happened. So I don't know what Texas did. I can't explain it because I don't do business in Texas, but I will tell you this. Once we start getting the data back, we're going to be able to do a fair comparison, because we can't compare right now.
Sure.
I figure we have to get through the first holiday season, after the pandemic, which is coming up in December. In New Jersey, we have to get through our first, summer season down in the shore, full summer season, not a partial one like we had in 2021, to be able to then compare the data and say, okay, this is what happened. We have to improve either on providing information, how to access grants, or whatever the data will show, in order to be able to then to compare to whatever reports are coming out of the other states that opened up a lot earlier than 2 years.
Oh, well said there. Folks, it's 6:23 here on the East Coast. If you're just tuning us live on Jersey First YouTube and also on Facebook Live via StreamYard, folks, he is Gus Penaranda, the Executive Director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, joined us here tonight live on Real Talk. Gus, when we talk about revenues and the way that businesses, again, it's the bread and butter. And when you talk to LGBTQ owned businesses, what's the data telling you about what's the most prevalent business that is LGBTQ owned? For example, with the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, obviously there is an enormous amount of real estate people, realtors, developers, bankers, mortgage people. It's crazy. It seems like everyone's getting their real estate license whenever you just go on Instagram and check out a story. Oh, someone's doing a listing. I'm like, really? How? Where? But when we see that with Hispanic-owned business, we're seeing restaurants, bodegas, dry cleaners. I mean, there's a lot of sort of mom and pop businesses that have become sort of symbolic with what the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has come to represent. From your experience thus far as president, obviously collaborating with the executive board, past president Joe Ring. Again, Joe, shout out to you. I know you were a gentleman coming on my show not too long ago, so shout out to you. What has been maybe the most prevalent business that is LGBT owned?
Well, the misconception is all LGBT owned businesses are bars or clubs, and that's not the case. I mean, we welcome all businesses, but it's not much different. You'd be surprised. We do have a lot of realtors, a lot of bankers. We also do have a lot of entertainment, but we also have a lot of entrepreneurs that have specialty shops that are providing a service or a product, especially in finances, and not so much financing as in Wall Street, but financing in the new markets that have opened up since marriage equality, where you're talking about families, same-sex families that are now having kids and having children. So that involves health insurance, that involves wills, that involves retirement, that involves a lot of even investment property. So that is a market that is opening up, and that will explain why we have so many, like I said, bankers, financial planners, lawyers, realtors, and so forth that have joined the chamber in the last 6 months since I've been executive director. The other component of it are a lot of entertainment organizations, a lot of organizations that work with the New Jersey summer period, which is also very relevant and very financially successful, along with restaurants and the normal businesses that join a lot of the other 100+ chambers in the state.
we are coming to a close on Pride Month. Obviously, a lot of businesses decide to, use it as a marketing tool, right? We see almost every business, social media platforms changing to Pride colors, right? The Pride flag and everything. What's been your experience, though, Gus, in New Jersey when it comes to companies being that receptive to LGBTQ causes and everything else? When, let's be fair, it's still, I would say, among Hispanics, for example, and Latinos, right? Latinas, right? I'm not a big fan of Latinx. I hate that stuff, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But what's been your, at least, experience from talking to business owners that have used Pride Month to really, I guess, gravitate and mobilize and sort of, I think at the end of the day, galvanize their customers, their clientele to be more LGBT friendly? Have you seen a growth in that while in your time, not just as president? I mean, I know it's recent, executive director, in the time you've been there, but also collectively as an organization. Has there been a big spike, or is it sort of running, treading water? What are some of the trends telling us?
So one of the things that I grew up with as an LGBT male was the fact that everybody wanted to access the gay dollar. And how did you do that? You put a flag out from June 1st until June 30th. And then on July 1st, you were done. And, for a while.
And that happens a lot, right? I mean, that happens
yes,
it does happen. Too often, right? Yeah.
Even today, it still happens. So a lot of LGBTQ plus organizations said enough with that. You know what? You can just put a flag out because you want us to go, into your shops, into your stores, and buy your product or order your services. But that's done. So now, when we deal with companies, and I'll just give you an example, like Spencer Savings Bank, Merck, like the or even small companies like St. Luna, because they're not necessarily LGBT owned, but we tell them it's like, they want to work with us not just in June. They want to work with us 365 days a year. And that's one of the key things that we look for now. We want to make sure that if we are going to partner with someone, or someone is coming in as a member, that they understand that we're working with companies that don't recognize us just for 30 days out of the year, that they work with us the entire year. They want to do educational programs. They want to support, our foundation. They want to, have an event specific to, to Pride, but they want to have it in September instead of June. But one of the wonderful things that we've noticed is a lot of mid-sized to large companies that call New Jersey home have employee business resource groups, which are not just specific to LGBT employees. They deal with a lot of other issues, mental health, cancer. They do a lot of community things because it supports their employee base, which then helps in retention and productivity. So these companies are now coming forward. Some of them have joined us. Some of them are thinking about joining us. And that's how we can now identify businesses that truly want to support the LGBT community throughout the tri-state, not just in New Jersey. And it also helps in bringing in future employees to these organizations, because they know that if, an LGBT, senior in college is going through looking for their first job, and they see a company and has an employee resource group, and they're celebrating Pride, or they have a panel discussing, issues, transgender issues or so forth, they're more receptive to trying to apply to that company, because they know that they're going to feel, and I hate saying this, but I started this, they feel safe being able to go to work in an organization that accepts them for who they are.
And it's tragic because, it's 2022. The idea that, not being able to go to work and feel that you're in a safe environment, seems really draconian, but that's tragic for sure. Folks, again, see some comments there on the comment page. Keep them coming. Sharing is caring, folks, again, as we are live here tonight on Real Talk with Fernando Uribe via StreamYard on Facebook Live, and also Jersey First YouTube page with the Executive Director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, Gus Penaranda, here tonight on the show. Gus, Governor Phil Murphy has not been apologetic at all. He's been really probably one of the more openly pro-LGBT governors on the East Coast, probably, maybe anywhere in the country. Maybe, short of Gavin Newsom out in the disaster that is California under his watch. But, the governor's been very pro-LGBT. First Lady Tammy Murphy has been the same. I think that we've seen legislators in recent years gravitate towards that. What's been your thoughts on Governor Murphy and really how open he's been with being very pro-LGBT? Some of it's gotten into a little bit of trouble, and we'll talk about that because, the word curriculum is being thrown around, especially in an election year here in New Jersey, and even last year in legislative races, and I'm sure even in 2023 they'll come up again. The governor has not shied away from his support. As an LGBT male, when you see what the governor has said in terms of rhetoric and narratives, what were your thoughts at first? Were you skeptical? But, what's been the body of work ever since then when it comes to Governor Murphy?
So first, with regards to business, I'm pretty sure that he saw the data. New York had signed a memo of understanding similar to the Executive Order 295 that he signed here. And in 2016, Pennsylvania signed a similar memo of understanding recognizing LGBT-owned businesses. So the data is out there already. This is no longer an experiment. So there is a benefit to doing what he did on May 3rd. On the other items that he's done to support the LGBT community prior to the executive order was the making into law the marriage equality for the state, protecting the rights of same-sex marriage. That just basically made the state more welcoming. And again, we are not taking sides, left or right with regards to any issue. But I will tell you this, from a business point of view, if I was in another state and, things change in the future and I'm like, well, where do I take my business or where can I expand my business? He's now made New Jersey a destination spot. He's made New Jersey a destination spot for all the LGBTQ revenue that, which, estimates in the trillions to the U.S. economy, to focus in on New Jersey and the tri-state area to bring their business to or expand their business to. So my personal view on this is that I am thankful for what he's done. There are other issues that involve the LGBT community that, I have my own personal opinion, but on the business end of it, I think he's taking the right steps into making sure that New Jersey is a draw to the community.
No, it has been. And again, when we look at marriage equality being passed back in 2015 on a national level, I know back in 2013, I know it came to New Jersey because I remember because I was hosting my show with Hudson Guy TV, and I actually interviewed the very first same-sex couple that applied for a marriage license in Hoboken. So I remember that very, very distinctly. When we talk about organizations that are nonprofit as well, I mean, I've also had on this show Christian Fuscarino. If you're familiar with him, he is
Yes.
executive director of Garden State Equality. He's a good friend of mine, fellow member of Cowboys Nation. So, I'm sure he's been a little pissed at me lately with some of my social media and some of my shows, but, we still have a good rapport about it. Let me pick your brain a little bit politically, Gus, because I know you're very astute, and I know you keep up on what's going on. And we know that here in New Jersey, we saw last fall when it came to legislative races. I mean, obviously the governor narrowly won re-election because it was a reminder that there were pockets of the state where he wasn't very popular. But when we started breaking it down by focus groups, you started seeing in legislative races, there were a lot of parents concerned about the ongoing discussion as it pertains to curriculum, LGBT curriculum, which was passed in the summer of 2020. Subsequently, it has come under the microscope, right? Last November, just 4 hours south on Route 95 in Virginia, that was a big issue in that gubernatorial race, in those legislative races. Even here in New Jersey, we know that now in recent months, legislators have been put under the microscope again about, well, what's going to happen now as this LGBTQ curriculum starts to expand in New Jersey. And I've been vilified, Gus, by LGBT advocates, journalists. I'm a lot of things, Gus. I'm not a transphobe. I'm not a homophobe. I'm not a bigot. But when I talk to parents in New Jersey that are going to their school boards, that are openly saying, you know what, we're not intolerant, but we're concerned about what our kids are learning as young as 5 years old. Listen, I'm going to go on record in saying this. I've talked to parents off the air. I've seen school board meetings on YouTube because they're televised in a lot of school districts around New Jersey. Gus, when parents object to their 5-year-olds learning about things like transgenderism or not gender roles, but,
Gender
How many
identity.
genders there are, yes, and learn about LGBT stuff. Again, we're Hispanic. I mean, these are kitchen table issues where at the end of the day, it doesn't make those parents bigoted. And I really hate the vitriol that's thrown at them because we're Hispanic, man. So we grew up for the most part with Catholicism and Christianity and everything else. And I'm not the biggest fan of the Catholic Church. There are a lot of things I disagree with it. But I'm still someone who's very devoted to Christ. But, whether it's Christianity or Judaism or Islam, I mean, there are parents that go to school boards and are concerned about their kids as young as 5 learning about transgenderism or, the ability to want to change your gender as young as whatever. These are topics that I think a lot of parents want to talk about at home. They don't feel comfortable with their school districts sort of force feeding on their kids. Where am I wrong in this chronology of time that I'm sort of trying to detail these events?
So the first thing that came to mind when you were talking about these issues, and again, we are not a political organization, so I'm speaking as someone who's worked in politics, and is a gay Latino male. So first of all, the word fear comes to mind. Okay, as a Latino male, I came out to my mom, not my dad. My mom asked me specifically, never tell your father, because at the kitchen table during dinner, because you're right, we're always Latino families, we're always together. My father had read something in the newspaper about, back then it was, homosexual or the word gay. And he said, in South America, a father would kill his gay son and no court would ever convict the father. So imagine being like, I think I was 9 or 10 years old, eating dinner with my sisters, my parents, and being told that fear. And
Sure.
I have never let that go. So I can understand on the other end, parents being afraid. And my thing now, my father has passed away. He never knew who I truly was because I did what my mom asked. But back then there was no education. They didn't understand. It was promoted as something horrible and ugly and evil at some point, especially in the Latino community and even today. But parents, I can only suggest is that you need to understand. You need to educate yourself first as to what is truly going to happen in these schools, because it wasn't too long ago where I forgot the person's name, and my apology to my African American friends, the gentleman who discovered how to separate blood into plasma, and he died because he bled to death because the hospital wouldn't take him because he was Black. They weren't teaching anything about African American history in schools back then. But what happened? They began to teach the history of the contributions that the African American community gave to this country, this great country that's turning 247 years old. And now we have to literally do the same with the LGBTQ plus community. Because if you think that the LGBTQ plus community had nothing to do with the history of this country, then you don't know your history. You have to educate yourself first as a parent. Then, and I said this earlier to you, a parent makes the decision for their children. So if they feel that they do not want to, expose their kids to this is America. You have a choice. Some people will disagree with me, but that is the parent's choice. But I do not believe that we shouldn't teach the history, because it's, if we don't learn from our past mistakes, which I just gave you the example, then, we're going to make them again. So if any parents are watching this, they should need to educate themselves, because I wish my parents had the access to the information, the true information, and do their own research on stuff before they begin to either remove their kids from school or whatever actions they're going to take, because I would have loved to have been able to tell my father who I truly was. And it's that fear. And fear, whether you're straight, whether you're gay, fear is the first thing that comes up to mind when these issues come up. And, the only way to battle fear is to educate yourself.
Gus, again, my condolences on the passing of your dad, and certainly very courageous on your part to speak to your mom about that. And again, when we talk about the challenges that LGBT males and females still face, I mean, obviously what you described, I think, is very commonplace. To your point, listen, I'm all for teaching history, whether, again, it's looking at Harvey Milk, the first openly gay U.S. representative in the House some years ago, to the contributions of LGBT people historically. I don't have an issue with that. I think where I get a lot of vitriol and pushback is the idea that, hey, if I'm standing up for parents who are, again, they're not bigoted, they're not transphobes or homophobes, but they're just concerned about, because again, Gus, I'm an educator. Okay, I work in higher ed, but I know so many teachers that work in multiple school districts across the state. We all know that when it comes to lesson plans and school districts, some school districts are a lot more left-leaning than others, and they might take some liberties in what they're going to let teachers teach. And, again, parents might be concerned about what teachers are going to bring into the classroom. No one's saying, I guess I'm with you. Learn about history, learn about the contributions economically, sociologically, everything else about LGBT people and their contributions to the United States of America. You're not going to hear any opposition from me. I think where I've been that vocal fighter for parents is, hey, let parents go to school board meetings and have their say. Listen, they pay a lot in property taxes, the highest in the country, and we all know property taxes fund school districts. So if parents want to go, and again, respectfully, we don't need to hear bigoted, like just disparaging stars. We don't need that. But constructively, I've seen parents go to school board meetings and raise legitimate concerns and objections. And I think that, unfortunately, we're living in this type of tribalism, Gus, where the slightest critique of something that we don't agree with, the other side immediately just gets, hey, we're going to play this card, and you're a blankist, blankphobe. Gus, we have to get away from that, bro.
I agree. And, as you were speaking, the first thing that came to mind is, okay, so if a parent has objections or whatever, and then, God forbid this happens, a child grows up, doesn't understand, they're going through changes. I mean, if a child, feels different, but they're taught that, being different is bad, or they have no idea what's happening to them. And then in the worst case scenario, which is not uncommon, they take their life. Yeah. I'm sorry, but, it's a difficult debate. It is, and I'm, I don't think this is the forum for it, but it needs to be addressed because, it does affect business in the sense that if some parents go to the extreme and then they see an LGBT owned business, they may, boycott that business because they don't want their son or daughter going into that business or whatever. And that's just horrible. But, I'm sorry, the technology today with social media, even as young as 5, they see what's going on. They see the shows, they see the news, they see, what people post on TikTok or whatever. And parents, as best as they try to control it, kids are going to ask questions. Yeah. So that it goes right back to what I started. Educate yourself as a parent, see what it is, and then you decide what's best for your child. But sooner or later, because we're living in 2022, where social media, the information comes out to you at a split second, they're going to access it. Unless you, literally lock your kid up, 24/7, they're going to access it. And my fear, and unfortunately, when it comes to depression, I have lost a lot of friends to suicide. You do not want to be that parent who, for whatever reason, one of your children says, "Mom, Dad, I feel different. I think I'm, whatever, bisexual, transgender, gay, or whatever," and that kid not feeling safe talking to their own parents, and therefore taking their life, because that's the end game. And unfortunately, it's more common than not. And so I don't have the statistics, because I don't even think there are statistics for this, because we're not following it. But if there were a true number, I think, parents would lean toward, okay, let me find out what they're going to teach. Let me see what options I have. Maybe, I can sign my kid out of that class until, they're in 8th grade or 9th grade. If you have adult true conversations like you've recommended, you can always come to a common ground, to a solution. The thing is, though, that all this hate and all this polarization or whatever, it completely fogs up the real issue, the real information. And then parents are left to, make these difficult decisions, not knowing what's the truth and what's not. And I'm sorry, when it comes to kids and when it comes to the chance that they may take their life because they don't know who they are, because someone told them, oh, it's wrong, it's evil. I'm sorry, you can't. I'm fortunate. I don't know how other kids that were 9 or 10 years old would react to what my father did at the dinner table. I don't know, but I'm still here. So I have to thank my mom for being the smart person that she was and being okay. She didn't understand it. She was angry, but at least she asked about, she asked with other friends, and as it turns out, and this is a true story, her very good friend was a transgender person who used to cut my hair for years when I was a little kid. I never knew what that was. It was, I would go into the salon and they'd cut my hair. So she knew, but a lot of other moms didn't. So, you know, just get educated before you do anything, because whatever you teach your kid at such a young age, it's going to carry on. It's going to filter. So that's my stance on this. And, as like I said, we're not a political organization, but
Yeah.
if they're gonna ban a school or persecute a teacher or a program, they'll do the same if they see a gay flag hanging out of a business, of a candy shop, or or a bookstore or a coffee shop. And it, it's a domino effect. And unless you get yourself well informed, the decisions you make now for your children could affect them for the rest of their life.
Oh, great points, Gus. And again, shout out to your mom. I mean, the nurturing nature of a mother, right?
Yes.
That's what it's all about. God bless your mom there. Let's get back to some chamber business here. Great points there, Gus, for sure. Folks, it's 6:43 here on the East Coast on Facebook Live via StreamYard, and also on the Jersey First TV YouTube page. Join us here this week, as we're about to wrap up shortly, is Executive Director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, Gus Penaranda, here joins us on Real Talk. A shout out to the executive board here, board of directors. Obviously, you are the executive director. Stephen Blazejewski, my apologies, Steve, the CFP and the president, as well as Joseph Renga, the immediate past president. Shout out to Joe, because he was a gentleman and came on my show some time ago. So it'd be nice to maybe get Joe back on the air. Maybe we can make that happen. That'd be great, Gus, for sure. Mm-hmm. As well as John Trayer, the CPA and the VP of Finance. Shout out to Jacob Miola, the Vice President of Membership, as well as Andrea Garcia, the Vice President of Marketing, as well as Stephanie Locker, the Vice President of Supplier Diversity and Certification, Tom Legan, the Vice President of Fundraising and Corporate Relations, Victor Peter Rodriguez, the Vice President of Administration. Very diverse board, to say the very least. Real quick here, what enables all of you to work collectively so well in advancing the mission statement and the goals ultimately of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, Gus?
Well, you said it first. It is diverse in gender. It is diverse in political affiliation. It is diverse even in the businesses that they all run. I told Stephen Blazejewski when he gave me the opportunity to become executive director, you gave me a gift. These individuals think like I do. We have this one opportunity. Like our purpose, like my purpose, is to give back to the community in any way possible. It's something that was instilled in me. And the board members that you just went through, they all feel that they have been successful in their own careers, in their own businesses, and they want to give back. And they see the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce as a way to do that. Because if you look at their backgrounds, which if you go to our website, we have press releases on most of them, you'll see that, you have someone that's done amazing work in communication. That's Andrea. You have someone that's done amazing work with partnerships with some of the major prides throughout the United States. That's Tom Legan. John Trayer has worked, as the treasurer since, I believe, almost the beginning of the chamber, when it was back in the LGBT chamber name. And, he has worked to bring in, the Republican view on how working together looks, especially with the LGBT community. So, and I can go on, but we all agreed early on when we first met through Zoom, let's put together a strategic plan. Everyone has input on their strong points, and we have worked that plan. And what has been the results? 127 days in, Executive Order 295 is signed. 6 months in, we've had amazing events post-COVID where, I'll give you a little bit of information. I was told that prior to the name change, we would get an average of 50 to 60 people at our events. Now we're getting, over 200 for our event that we had on June 2nd, kicking off Pride Month at the Hyatt Regency. So things are moving, including our membership, which has gone from 115 to almost 250 in 6 months. And we've just, begun. So it is their commitment as my commitment to make sure that we get the information, we educate the business population, not just the LGBTQ population. We'll educate anyone that attends our events. But also the one fact that most people don't understand, they're volunteers. The executive board for the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce are all volunteers. So they're giving their time and their expertise to the community. And that in itself should tell, the business community in New Jersey that they're serious, because they know how valuable their time is. Imagine how much time these board members are giving to all of the events that we have put together in the last 6 months.
Oh, well said there. Folks, before we close out this segment here, Gus, I want to thank you for your time. I think this has been very educational and constructive dialogue here, really informing our audience about the benefits of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, obviously how far you have come as an organization, and only starting about 8 years ago. Actually, it's 9 years ago, excuse me.
9 years ago, yes.
9 years ago. So again, I want to thank you for your time. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation, talking about the advancements of businesses and what the Chamber is doing to help LGBT-owned businesses. I think a great political discussion for sure. I'm sure we can get you back on later this summer and maybe pick your brain a little bit more politically, as we know these are issues and topics that, especially in an election year, are going to be front and center, as we all know. Again, folks, check out www.njpridechamber.org. And as I mentioned at the start of the program, any donation you can make on the right-hand side, click on the donate button, is safe, secure, and tax deductible. And do me a favor, folks, it's July 1st already coming up, all right? Get summer ready. Kick that iced coffee. Kick that breakfast sandwich as you're driving to work, right? Or whatever it is, okay? Get summer ready, okay? Take that money that you're wasting on that super duper mega cappuccino macchiato and the iced coffee and this donut and that donut or this breakfast sandwich that's fried or whatever's clogging your arteries these days, folks. Do me a favor. Take a break with it, pause, take that money, click on the donate button at www.njpridechamber.org. Again, your donation is safe and secure, as well as tax deductible online. Goes a long way in helping the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce. Gus, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for being a fan of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. I hope you'll want to come back on. I think this episode has been great. I'm not this big bad conservative. I think that maybe some people might make me out to be. I'm reasonable. I'm rational. I'm the professor. I'm the journalist. I'm everything I can be. But I want to thank you for your time, for coming on here. And I'll give you the last word.
Fernando, thank you very much. Listen, it's all about conversation. You may not agree all the time, but as long as you can have a conversation, you get the right information out, and then people can make decisions for themselves. And I just want to say, one last thing. And I'm saying it for the first time on your show. So everyone knows, if you're if you live in New Jersey, about the League of Municipalities every November in Atlantic City. Well, in November 15th, that's Tuesday, for the first time, the League of Municipalities is supporting the first LGBT summit at the Borgata, which would be on Tuesday morning. More information will be posted on our website. But we're going to bring all the LGBT organizations together so the municipalities can see the strength of the community and the business opportunities that are going to be there. So this is the first time I'm announcing this out to the world on your show. And again, thank you so much for having me. Anytime you want us back, please let me know. We're here to have a conversation.
I'll definitely see you at the League. I go every November, and I love going. I love hearing the cheers when I walk into a room and some of the boos that I get when I walk into the room as well. So we'll definitely touch base. Send me some info. I'm happy to plug it on the program for you and the chamber as well. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Gus Penaranda, the executive director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce here. Our guest this Monday here on Real Talk with Fernando Uribe via Facebook Live on StreamYard and also on the Jersey First TV YouTube page. Gus, God bless you. And we'll talk to you again soon here on Real Talk with Jersey First TV.
Take care.
Have a good one. Folks, great show here with, again, Gus Penaranda, the executive director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, and certainly one that, again, will undoubtedly get traffic, and one that certainly will generate a lot of conversation and ongoing debate. Great stuff that they're doing, helping LGBT-owned businesses, and certainly a little political talk as well about what's going on right now, as we know that LGBT curriculum, LGBT themes are certainly under the microscope, and certainly in an election year, no doubt in New Jersey, and of course, I'm sure across the country, these are topics that will undoubtedly generate a lot of debate, especially, again, as we approach the midterm elections in probably less than 5 months here. Folks, before I let you go, obviously, it is that time of the program where I get to mention and honor the worst journalist of the week in the state of New Jersey. But before I do that, I want to mention, well, a dishonorable mention. Since normally someone says an honorable mention, I'm going to discuss a dishonorable mention here. And I have to just say, you know what, to NJ Spotlight News, listen, folks, lately I've been concerned about NJ Spotlight News when it comes to bad journalism, because we see a little bit of it, right? We see it with Uncle Dave, David Cruz, his attempts to, not put you to sleep when he's hosting a program. And listen, folks, I'll be fair. I watch Reporters Roundtable every week. I'm a political junkie. I watch Power and Politics on News 12. I watch other shows. I watch Steve Adubato, also on NJPBS. These are all interesting shows because I'm a political junkie, folks, right? I'm not just only an educator, an academic, and a journalist, but I love watching politics on a daily basis. But something that really bothered me came at the hands of Raven Santana. And this is the problem, folks, because, again, let me be very clear, because I don't want anyone to take this out of context, because, again, I'm a first-generation American. I'm the son of immigrants, right? My mom left communism in Cuba, and my dad left a bad economy in Colombia. That's not disparaging. That's what it was. That's why a lot of people immigrate here. They leave bad economies in their homelands, especially in Latin America, okay? They came here legally. They went about it the right way. And, again, I'm a product of their hard work, their work ethic, their compassion, their generosity, their ability to just keep moving forward. And I have to thank my parents for that. But I think what Raven did in a recent column, I think upsets a lot of people, and not just conservatives, but I think even Hispanics who are seeing what's going on in Trenton. And we're seeing with organizations like the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice. And again, folks, I have my issues with them because I don't engage in semantics. But one of the things that I didn't like about a recent column by, and folks, let me just say this too, Raven, I like your columns. You're a good journalist. I follow you on Twitter. Thanks for following me on Twitter recently. I'm not sure if you'll follow me after tonight, but we'll find out. But the point is that, Raven, you're a good journalist. And I don't like seeing you go down the rabbit hole of what potentially could be bad behavior, because we see it with other journalists in New Jersey. I call out the worst journalist of the week every single show here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. But there was a column that you shared last week, which I have to take you to task on, okay? And it was titled, Immigrants Rally to Demand More Rights and Protections. There was a rally in Trent organized by the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice. June is Immigrant Heritage Month, and advocates in New Jersey are marking it by pushing for legislative change in Trenton. Advocates from many organizations rallied at the State House in the Annex on last Wednesday, to demand more laws be passed to protect immigrant rights. No, folks, that's not what the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice does. They may hide behind that, but they're also what they do very well, like other organizations in New Jersey, like Make the Road New Jersey, Progressive Democrats of Hudson County, the Democratic Socialists of America in the New Jersey chapter, is they coddle illegals. Folks, that's what we have to call it, okay? I'm not into semantics. Folks, I'm an academic, okay? Wording matters, okay? Context matters. And when you start going off on these tangents, like, again, the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice likes to do, no, you're protecting the immigrant rights, but you're protecting the rights of illegals as well, where a lot of New Jerseyans, black, white, Hispanic, brown, whatever you want to call it, object to how much Trenton coddles them and what they do in terms of taking taxpayer dollars, putting into a legal fund, whether it's granting driver's licenses to illegals. There were things that bother everyday New Jerseyans. And I know for Hispanics like my parents, and they're not racist, and they're not bigots, and they're not, whatever you want to call it, xenophobes. No, they're none of those things. But my parents represent a lot of regular, traditional, everyday Hispanics that don't like what's going on in Trenton or nationally when it comes to coddling illegals. And again, an organization like the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice lives for this. So, for example, again, the article by Raymond Santana, the rally organized by the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice focused on promoting the passage of legislation, including a bill that will provide greater visibility for immigrants through language access and data collection practices. No, folks, that's not true, Raven. We all know what that organization does. Okay, this window dressing by you in this column, I'm deeply disappointed because you're better than this. Because I read your columns and you're a good journalist. Let me say it again. Raven Santana is a good journalist. But you're doing a disservice to readers, Raven, by not being completely transparent here. Okay? And as well as looking at, collecting demographic information to separate communities like Asian American, Pacific Islanders, so they're not overly generalized, and a bill that will provide critical protection for immigrants to seek support from state and local agencies. Again, Raven, that's not what the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice does, right? Again, from local and state agencies without fear of being deported. The event last week included music, poetry, and dance to highlight the varied makeup of the immigrant community. Raven, that's not what they do. That's not what the insufferable executive director of the New Jersey Alliance of Immigrant Justice does. We all know Amy Torres. We all know what she is. She's, again, one of these insufferable activists who clearly, and if you look at her social media, struggles with basic curriculum. Amy, you went to college, right? So I'm assuming you, at some point, you took at least one economics course. At least you took maybe one biology course and maybe one course on either U.S. history or constitutional law, right? Where, sovereignty or the preservation of borders is something that's written into, right, the most glorious legal document in the history of mankind, maybe next to the Magna Carta, right? But you struggle with this material. But again, folks, this person who I wouldn't trust to run a lemonade stand, much less trust to even balance your checkbook or know anything about money. But Raven, what you're doing is enabling people like Amy Torres. What you're doing is enabling groups like the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, okay, who clearly have gone on record in protesting outside of jails, trying to get rid of ICE detainees and ICE contracts with counties. Folks, this is the reality, okay? Before September 11th, ICE didn't exist, okay? It was part of immigration and the naturalization service. But once September 11th happened and the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, I feel like I'm teaching class here, right? Because I'm a history professor too. I feel like I'm teaching class here, okay? Once the Department of Homeland Security was formed, we started consolidating a lot of federal agencies. So what do? We started getting ICE and Customs Enforcement together, which again came to be known as ICE, okay? And these ICE contracts were responsible, at least, to help preserve our sovereignty and our borders and to enforce immigration law. You know what's funny to people like Amy Torres and the other insufferable activists that enable organizations like this? We all know who the type are, right? Patty Campos Medina with her 10 viewers that she has every single week on her god-awful show on YouTube. I won't even give it any credence because it's just god-awful. But it's activists like this, and specifically Amy Torres, that go out of her way to demonize ICE, who are simply doing their job. Folks, preserving our borders, enforcing immigration law isn't just something that we do in this country. We do it throughout Latin America. Okay? But people like Amy Torres would have you believe that illegals here in this country are entitled to A, B, and C. I'm going to give you a history lesson and a civics lesson here. Okay? In my dad's native homeland of Colombia, if you're there illegally, guess what? You're not going to be eligible for anything concerning public assistance from the government. You're not going to be able to get a driver's license. You're not going to be able to even to go vote, which is something that people like Amy Torres, Patty Campos Medina, and all these insufferable leftists want eventually to have happen in New Jersey, if not nationally. Okay? But is anyone calling the Colombian government racist? Is anyone calling the Colombian government xenophobes? No, they might call them communists based on the last election, but that's a story for another day. But for the rest of Latin America, where they believe in sovereignty and borders, folks, check out Mexico's immigration laws. Google it if you haven't had a chance. They're pretty draconian, right? If you're going by the standards that groups like the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice go on. So Raven, you should know better than to try to glorify this organization when you know full well that they're doing us a disservice because they don't believe in borders. They don't believe in sovereignty. Okay? They believe in coddling illegals every single chance that they get. And by the way, folks, this does not make me a bigot or a xenophobe or a racist or nothing. Okay? I believe in legal immigration like my parents did, like millions of other Hispanics do as well. What does it say to Hispanics when they're seeing legislatures like in New Jersey and around the country that coddle illegals the way they do, that they take taxpayer dollars, put it into a legal fund to provide legal representation like they do in New Jersey to prevent deportations? Explain to me how that makes sense. Okay? When you're here illegally, all right? Like you have, again, the idea that even granting driver's license to illegals, driving is a privilege. Okay? You're here illegally. You're not entitled to anything. But again, to someone like Amy Torres, who reminds you of the typical millennial who wants, and will rant if she doesn't get her way, again, these are the type of insufferable activists that we have to deal with. And Raven, you should know better. You should not be even glorifying someone like Amy Torres, who's an insufferable human. Again, you do good work. When I saw this column, I have to call you out as a dishonorable mention this week here on Real Talk. Amy, again, not Amy, but Raven, do better. Do better than glorifying a clown like Amy Torres. Okay? The woman doesn't know the first thing about economics or biology or even understanding the Constitution. Okay? I'd be surprised if she even balanced her checkbook month to month. And there are apps for that too. Raven, do better. You shouldn't be glorifying organizations like this. Because quite frankly, they're not doing a very good job, and they're doing it as a disservice, especially to taxpayers here in the state of New Jersey. But this week's winner, folks, of the worst journalist of the week, of course, comes from Insider NJ. Yes, what a surprise. And while there are a lot of multiple winners we've had in recent weeks, because I started this segment back in April, and folks, let me tell you something. One of the reasons this show continues to get very good traffic, not dozens of views, okay? Not a couple hundred views like Maxi Pizarro, the insufferable editor-in-chief from Insider NJ gets when he does an interview when he puts you to sleep, okay? But the reason this show gets thousands of views, right, is not just because of the excellent guests that I interview every single week, but it's because of calling out bad journalism. So I've anointed myself the official watchdog to call out bad journalism. And this week, again, to no one's surprise, emanating from Insider NJ, yes, my good buddy, well, I'm not sure if he's my good buddy anymore, but yes, it's Ali Steinberg. My goodness, yes. The former, regional director of the EPA when he worked under the George W. Bush administration. Hey, Alan, since you like to write columns about how outraged you are, I'm still waiting on that column about Christy Whitman when she was director of the EPA, right? When she sent thousands of men and women to their deaths on ground zero, telling them it was safe to go in and breathe that air when we all know it wasn't. And respiratory diseases came as a result. We've had millions of dollars dished out in lawsuits and compensation. We've had firefighters, EMT, police officers die because of Christy Whitman. How come you've never written a column about that? But you want to bitch and moan about what you bitch and moan about. But again, this week, Ali's latest atrocity of the English language goes as follows. In case Biden doesn't seek re-election, what if both Jersey guys, Phil Murphy and Cory Booker, want to run? ? Now, of course, Alan, in his usual state of delusion, I don't know if it's just maybe dementia or maybe that's entering in. You're kind of old, Alan. I'm not trying to pick on you, because you're old, but it seems like cognitively it's really digressing. I don't know what's worse, you or Sleepy Joe. But he writes, I continue to be supportive of President Joe Biden. Based on what? I have no idea. Jesus, what do you have to be proud of? It's certainly not riding a bike or riding the economy into the ground. I'm not sure which happened quicker or sooner. I don't hold him responsible for the current inflation. Of course not, Alan, because that would require you to have, again, that 4-syllable word that you struggle with, that everybody else at Insider NJ struggles with, integrity, okay? I don't hold him responsible for the current inflation, which has politically placed him way underwater in the polls. No, it's not even way underwater. We're talking about like the core of the earth, okay? That's how far deep his approval ratings are. Now, again, Alan attempts to try to educate you when we all know he's full of you-know-what. The current inflation is a result of 3 factors over which Biden has virtually no control, which is not true. Number one, the mammoth expansionary monetary policies of the Federal Reserve, which began in early 2020 before Biden's election. That's not true, okay? 2, the explosion in monetary velocity, which occurred after the end of the virtual national lockdown in early 2021, and the Russian-Ukraine war, which resulted in an explosion in wheat and oil prices, 2 basic commodities. Fortunately for Joe Biden in politics, perception always supersedes reality. The inflation has happened on his watch. Of course it did, Alan. Who else is it? And he will be blamed, and rightfully so. This will result in the Republicans winning control of the House, which they're going to. They're going to sweep this November. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a bloodbath this November. Although the Democrats have a 40% chance of retaining control of the Senate. That's probably going to turn red too, Ali, okay? But in the first 2 quarters of 2023, a recession is likely. Really? Nah, you're kidding. Wow. I mean, I don't even have an economics degree, and I know that, Ali. This factor, plus the fact that Biden is approaching 80, will result in growing pressure on him not to seek re-election. As for Vice President Kamala Harris, she is proving to be politically, at best, ineffectual and at worst, counterproductive. Ali, you're being kind. This woman is inept. This hyena laughs at every single chance she has. And is there a reason why they've hidden her from the cameras? She's an embarrassment. You have to call it what it is, Alan. I mean, your window dressing it's sort of sugarcoating. It's like, you know what? It's like going up to the hottest chick in a bar that you think, right? But once you turn off the lights, right, after the last call, you realize, maybe she's a butterface. You're being extremely kind, okay? But that's the correlation I have to give you, ladies and gentlemen, to understand how far removed from reality Ali Steinberg is. He goes, that reaffirms my continuous 2020 judgment that Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, another one, again, who ran COVID awfully in Michigan, would have been a better running mate for Biden. Excuse me. So now he mentions that, fortunately, actually, let me go back a bit here. So to whom will the Democrats turn as their 2024 presidential candidate if Biden bows out? A far left-wing progressive Bernie Sanders type candidate? For example, a congresswoman like New York City Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or Massachusetts U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren? They're all unelectable. Really? You're kidding, Al. Fortunately, the Democrats have a list of prime presidential center-left, pragmatic, progressive prospects. Jesus Christ, Ellen. Please, take your meds for God's sakes. All of whom are imminently electable. They are as follows. This is what's really funny. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Minnesota U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, Auntie-Amy, Jesus Christ. California Governor Gavin Newsom, who just narrowly escaped a recall and is running California into the ground. U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown out of Ohio. U.S. Senator Chris Murphy, another winner. What else here? Oh, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Yes, I mean, don't even get me started on Pete. And Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Folks, I'm not going to read you the rest of this column because it's just an atrocity. But again, it's a reminder why Ali Steinberg is so far removed from reality. Okay? Ali, whether it's gas prices, which is funny because, you've gone on record in your column saying, well, the president has nothing to do with gas prices. But then his press secretary last week goes on to say, well, there are certain measures the president can take to help control gas prices. Well, which is it? Does the president control gas prices or not? Make a decision now, because it seems like you and everybody on the left, and please, it's funny when you used to identify as a Republican, but there's nothing conservative about you anymore. You are drinking the liberal progressive Kool-Aid. It's pretty sad, especially in your winding down years of life, that you become this delusional. But Ali, this is the problem, okay? That you think someone like Cory Booker, folks, anyone remember about that tantrum during the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings when he called himself Spartacus? That was an embarrassment. I was like, Jesus Christ, that guy, that clown is my U.S. Senator, a guy who ran Newark into the ground, okay, a guy that, along with Mark Zuckerberg obviously took money from Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook to help revitalize Newark schools, and we all know what happened there, okay? Cory Booker, folks, has been an absolute joke, and let's be fair, only New Jerseyans would elect a guy like this and keep reelecting a guy like this. But you think he's an electable candidate for the presidency? And let me go back also to Governor Phil Murphy. This is a guy who narrowly won re-election. I was the only journalist in New Jersey that went on record and said the governor's going to struggle to get reelected. Okay, he'll win by 3 or 4 points. And everybody in the New Jersey media landscape said, oh, Fernando, you're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I'm factual because I know what I'm talking about. Okay, it's not just because all these degrees on my wall and all these awards behind me. I know what I'm talking about because I do it for a living. Okay, The governor is still immensely unpopular in parts of the state. And because Democrats register more voters and they mobilize better, that's the only reason they won. They have 1.5 million more registered Democrats in New Jersey than they are Republicans. And even with that, guess what? Phil Murphy had to sweat it out until about Thursday of that week during election time to win by only 3 or almost 4 points. So I was right and Ali was wrong. This is a guy who went on a column and said that Phil Murphy is going to sweep in the landslide and that legislative races are going to follow. No, it didn't happen, Ali. I told you so, and you laughed me off. And of course, who got the last laugh? Me, as always. But Ali, this is again the problem with you and Insider NJ and Maxi Pizarro, the insufferable editor-in-chief, right, who's too busy riding horses to ever put together a good column. I mean, I'm not sure who's riding horses. Either the horse is riding Max or Max is riding the horse. I don't know. That's up to Max. That's his personal business. But Ali, this is, again, a reminder. When I read garbage like this from you, it's a reminder of how far removed you've become from reality, okay? Everything right now is the president's doing. When you shut off pipelines, when you stop drilling domestically because you want to appease the green crowd, the Green New Deal crowd, and all the climate hysterics, okay? When you cut off drilling contracts, when you stop drilling domestically, okay? That's what's going to happen, okay? Because of COVID mandates, right? Mandating federal employees, mandating COVID vaccines for truckers and everything else, that's going to have an impact on the supply chain, okay? Everything is going up on his watch. But Alan would want to make you believe that it's still President Trump's fault? Baloney. Absolute, unequivocal, 100% Thuman's baloney that you can buy at Walmart or any deli across the state of New Jersey. But this is the garbage, once again, that we keep seeing from Insider NJ, whether it's Maxi Pizarro, whether it's Ali Steinberg. And by the way, Ali, let me just say this to you. I don't know who smokes more weed, because I'm thinking you must be smoking weed, either you or little JJ Lasseter, because you cannot be this removed from reality with some of these columns. Cory Booker, as an electable candidate for the presidency, did you see him when he was running in 2020? Did he even get one delegate? Did you see the embarrassment that he was during the debates? Folks, and Governor Phil Murphy too, when you narrowly win re-election, anybody remember, what happened to Chris Christie? Yeah, you can win elections in New Jersey. That doesn't mean you're a viable candidate nationally. Phil Murphy's going to find that out sooner than later if he decides to run. But we all know that Sleepy Joe, once he comes out of his basement, right, like he did in 2020 to run and make an occasional appearance, he'll run again. Now, who's going to run against him remains to be seen. But if Democrats continue to focus on pronouns and bathrooms and implementing bad economic policies and being all about woke nonsense and subscribing to all of the aforementioned, you want to do so at your own peril? Look down south. Look what happened in Virginia. Look what's going on in Texas, where a district that was won consistently for over a century by Democrats now flipped red, not just to a Republican, but to a Latina Republican. That should tell you the political climate that awaits Democrats this November. And I'm telling you, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be bloody. It might be something out of a Saw movie or the new Halloween franchise that we saw recently come out. Folks, it's going to get ugly. But someone like Ali Steinberg is removed from reality. He doesn't see that. He wants to keep putting up Joe Biden in this favorable light. Guess what, Ali? That's not true. Everything going on right now, whether it's gas prices going up, everything is more expensive. Folks, do you think come November, and whether what happened last Friday with Roe versus Wade being overturned or other things with the Supreme Court, folks, come November, whether it's brown people, black people, and white people, kitchen table issues matter. How much it's costing you more to go grocery shopping, how much it's costing you more to go travel down the shore to visit friends and relatives when you have to fill up your gas tank, okay? These are all things that matter, everyday issues, okay? Not abortion, which again, for any of you, and again, folks, this is what bothers me. Look behind me, okay? I got copies of the Constitution there. 10th Amendment, again, very simply, whatever rights the federal government doesn't have in the Constitution, or whatever powers that aren't stipulated there, they go to the states. That's what the 10th Amendment is, okay? I don't have a law degree, and I know this. But some of these insufferable activists, okay, they don't seem to know that. But you think that that's what's going to govern this election climate? No, Ali, and to Maxi, and to little JJ, and the rest of the insufferable lollipop guild, okay, at Insider NJ, led by their glorious leader, Petey Boy Onelia, okay, that loves to take money from advertisers, but you know what? You're also the chair of a local Democratic committee, and you're also the general manager of a news site. How, again, is no one writing about this and saying that this isn't a conflict of interest? Again, Insider NJ needs to do better, but do you think they ever will? Probably not. It clearly is not going to happen with Ali Steinberg. It's clearly not going to happen with Maxi Pizarro or the rest, again, of the clown show that we've come to know as Insider NJ. But again, in honor of Ali Steinberg, again, this week's winner of the worst journalist of the week here in the state of New Jersey. I know he's always fixated on January 6th. You know what? I, too, remember January 6th. All right? I, too, remember how great it was to fill up my gas tank. I remember how, too, it was that day to go to work and not have to feel I have to donate a kidney or other vital organs to fill up my gas tank. That's the January 6th that people on an everyday basis care about, Ali. Not that fixation you have. Our democracy's fine. Our democracy turns 246 this Monday. You know, it would behoove you to do a little history homework or read up on history because our democracy's fine. Our democracy is going to continue to be fine. But you wouldn't know it with clowns like Ali Steinberg. I mean, folks, this guy's turned out to be a loser like his Brooklyn Nets. And that's pretty sad. But then again, he works for Insider NJ, and it doesn't get any sadder than that. And that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank our great guest this week, the Executive Director of the New Jersey Pride Chamber of Commerce, Gus Penaranda, for an excellent conversation about LGBT-owned businesses, what the Chamber is doing, their expansion, how they've grown in the last 9 years since their inception, and quite frankly, all the great things they continue to do, and even coming up at the League of Municipalities this November in Atlantic City. Look forward to seeing him and other chambers as well that do a great job in representing their clientele and their members like they do every single week, really, with their organizational structure and what they do overall as a nonprofit organization. So a special thanks to him and a great conversation this week. Folks, don't forget, check out Jersey First on their website, www.jerseyfirst.org. That's jersey1st.org. Make sure you like them on Facebook and follow them on Instagram and Twitter, again, at Jersey First. Make sure you like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook as well. And check out my own Instagram and Twitter at NoFilterUribe. That's at NoFilterUribe, Uribe. Make sure you like Jersey First on Facebook as well. Always remember, folks, live every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can always rely on exceptional programming here on Jersey First TV, courtesy of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Special programming note, ladies and gentlemen, next Monday is the 4th of July. We will not have a broadcast, so get to enjoy the long weekend. I'll be enjoying the fireworks in downtown Jersey City, and I'll be wearing one of my very clever political shirts, so stay tuned for that. You definitely will get a laugh. As you know, if you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, you know the type of shirt that I like to wear. So check me out next weekend, folks. If you see me at the 4th of July celebration downtown Jersey City, come up and say hi. What you like about the show? What you don't like about what you don't like about the show? I welcome all feedback. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Real Talk right here via Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino, via the Latino Spirit Online magazine for 2020, 2021, and in 2022. And of course, the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate conservative on your newsfeed. Yes, it's me, Dr. Fernando Uribe, saying so long, ladies and gentlemen. Happy birthday to the US of A as she turns 246 this Monday. Have a safe, please party responsibly, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, folks, for the latest edition of Real Talk, once again, with Jersey First TV. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.